Welcome to another episode of Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover. We kick off our coverage of the 2024 NFL Draft with our fans on the clock first round mock draft. We're going to be joined and helped by 30 plus guys and gals from the NFL community in the UK and beyond to make picks for their team in the first round of the NFL Draft. Joe, Byron, and myself will be analysing the picks as we go. Pretty cool that we're kind of doing our own draft, guys.
I love it, yeah. I mean, I remember you pitching it and kind of like, do you reckon we'll be able to do it? But I think, yeah, great idea. And so far, so great. You know, everyone's been really good with the time and contributing really well. So, I think it's a great idea. And I love that everyone's getting involved with it, yeah.
Yeah, it's... we're looking forward to it. It saves us doing the job of figuring out who's getting picked where and when. We can just analyse them and, slag them off if we don't like them. It's not our picks, so it's all fun. But looking forward to it. I'm sure they're all great picks.
Yeah, it's definitely we've definitely evolved from last year when we filmed all 7 rounds on the PFF mock draft. I think Dockers helped us, didn't he? And then I just cut it all and we didn't use like 2 hours of it. So yeah, we've definitely evolved, which is good. So thanks for joining us for us. This probably is going to be the most difficult episode to have put together in terms of volume of people involved, the editing that it's going to take on my part and putting it all together. So fingers crossed it has all ran smooth. At this point, I guess, we don't know how it's going to go, but yeah, hopefully it'll all run smooth. But thanks for joining us. As always, make sure you go give us a follow. Good Teams and Great Teams Cover over on Spotify. If you follow, you'll be notified when new episodes drop. Also, give us a follow across all our other socials: YouTube, Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, and is the one I forgot? No, I think that's them all. At GTW_GTC. A reminder, if you haven't seen it already, one of our last episodes, we've got an interview with Bethany Pilkington from the Great Britain Women's American Football Team. They are just about, when this goes out, about to be heading out to Spain to play in the European Championship. So best of luck to the Great Britain Women's Lions. Hopefully they can go back a W in sunny Spain. But yeah, we sat down with Beth, so go give that a listen. And also our Sporting Rules draft will be on before this comes out. So yeah, go listen to that or watch that if you haven't already. So thanks to our guests, who I've not confirmed yet. I think Rob will be on, and whoever else joins us for that. So thanks very much for that. And we'll just assume I won. So 1 win for Paul in draft season. Right. Before we get to the first pick, one more shout out. Thanks to the guys at First Down Sports Apparel for partnering with us. Go check out their Vinted store because by now they would have dropped 100 new items. So they're in the process of uploading them all. They have got some amazing stuff. There's a story on their Instagram of a awesome Brett Favre Green Bay Packers starter jacket that they recently got to a very happy Packers fan over in Manchester. So they've got great stuff. Go check them out. You can get yourself a discount. UK GTW, get yourself 10% off. So some absolutely fantastic sports gear, NFL gear, and others as well. There's some old England shirts on there if you're feeling like you want something cool for the Euros.
Only if it has a real St. George's flag on though, right?
Oh dear.
We need to join the culture wars.
Didn't realise we had Joey Barton on as a guest.
You will never have Barton as a guest.
I think it could be quite fun. Well, first pick, should we start there?
Seems as good a place as any, right?
Yeah.
Beat 7.
So we're going to pass over to recurring guest, someone who's helped us out quite a lot. Anthony Dockery, a.k.a. Dockers, left tackle of the Yorkshire Rams. He's a huge Chicago Bears fan. He's going to be he's going to be securing, hopefully, the future of the Chicago Bears franchise with the number 1 pick. So let's hand it over to Dockers and see who he's taking. I don't think we're going to be surprised.
The first pick of the 2024 NFL Draft is sponsored by the Yorkshire Rams in association with their main sponsors, Hickory Smokehouse in Wakefield. And the first pick from the Chicago Bears is quarterback Caleb Williams from the University of Southern California.
So with the number one pick in our fans on the clock first round mock draft, the Chicago Bears select Caleb Williams, quarterback out of USC. So yeah, no surprises. I suppose, guys, what are the Chicago Bears going to get out of Caleb Williams?
I think they're going to get the best quarterback in the class, safest floor, probably the highest upside. You know, obviously a bit of a mixed 2023 year at USC, but overall in his college career, I think he's shown by far the most. I think he's an automatic plug-in and play, automatic starter. That's why they were so keen to get rid of Justin Fields. They've set him up really well for success with what they've done in this free agency period. I just think, it's a really, really easy decision compared to, some recent quarterback classes where there's been some kind of, do you want to reach on a quarterback? I think this is just a kind of really easy decision, slam dunk, really.
Yeah. Joe, thoughts? Caleb Williams, is he your number one?
Yeah, I think he is. I think similar to what Byron said. I think usually most drafts there's always who's going to go number one, who's going to go number two, and there's always a narrative before the draft. But it feels like there haven't been that much this year, and it feels like it's nailed on to be Caleb Williams and new offensive coordinator in Shane Waldron. Hopefully that helps him to settle in. And yeah, like Barry said, it's a team what needs to win now, and there's probably the best setup for first pick overall for a long time. So yeah, fingers crossed the Bears have their quarterback, and I'll go from here.
Yeah, I think if this doesn't work out, the Bears might be set back for another 5-10 years because I think it is a big one, and I get he's not my number one quarterback, and I've been might be in the minority that isn't, but I wouldn't. I get why you kind of have to take him. If it was the Cowboys in that position, my team, I wouldn't want them to be taking Caleb Williams number one. I think for me, obviously shown incredible talent, obviously at times through USC, particularly in the 2022 season. But what he's shown is his inability to win big games, and there's reasons why USC didn't win those games, and the defense is atrocious. But I've not seen him kind of take a grip of a game in those tough moments and lead his team to victories against good opposition. The difficulties that USC had, and he particularly had against Utah's defense, I think is a big concern about how that translates into the NFL, and then how they just fell apart the back end of the 2023 season. So they had a very soft first part of the schedule, and just the way it worked out, they did have a lot of tough games, but for me, he just kind of disappeared and went missing a lot. So that would be my worry. I see a lot of slight about off the field stuff and what he likes to wear and all that, and give a toss about that. For me, I'm just worried about that and his ability to be a true leader. So, but I get why they're going to have to take him. Caleb Williams, number one overall pick. Best of luck to you, Caleb, in Chicago. Thanks, Dockers, as well. I appreciate you. We'll hear from him again later on because he's also going to be picking at number 9 for the Chicago Bears. Next up, we have got the Washington Commanders at number 2. Now, we couldn't get hold of a UK Washington Commanders fan to take part. So instead, we've got an American New England Patriots fan to make the pick at 2.
We've got England in there.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, that kind of works. But we have got Scott Cobb, who's a friend of the show. He's been on plenty of times before, helped us out in a couple of drafts, and had a look at the state of the NFC East. He's pretty close, Boston, Landover, not too far away. So Scott's going to be picking on behalf of the Washington Commanders. So let's see who Scott takes for Washington at number 2.
Hey, this is Scott Cobb from the LTS Let's Talk Sports Network. You can find me on SJCobe1 on Twitter. You can also find me in the Let's Talk Sports show Monday nights and Thursday nights from 9 p.m. Eastern to 11 p.m. Eastern, and I'm here to draft for the Washington Commanders. My pick will be quarterback Jaden Daniels, the multi-dimensional quarterback from LSU, threw 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and Jaden Daniels is something that Washington desperately needs with the trade of Sam Howell to Seattle. So Jaden Daniels will be the pick, and he will fit in well with the Commanders' system, as he will be a running and throwing quarterback. He will start from day one, as they don't really have another quarterback that could start in Washington. So looking forward to Jaden Daniels being a part of the Commanders and being part of that new look offense with Dan Quinn as the new head coach from Dallas. That's the pick.
So Scott takes for the Washington Commanders Heisman Trophy winning quarterback out of LSU, Jaden Daniels. Joe, what do you make of that pick for the Commanders at number 2?
Yeah, well, they're definitely a quarterback with all the moves they've made. It's obviously just deciding, is it Daniels or May? I think that's the biggest decision and the first big decision of the draft. And yeah, it'll set the draft on its way. I think it's a good pick for Washington. I'm a bit wary of Washington as a whole, and again, Cliff Kingsbury in, and obviously he's worked with athletic quarterbacks before, so that probably helps. But you do worry with his track record with certain quarterbacks, and if he can get the most out of a rookie QB. Obviously, great athleticism and huge arm, and he had a great year last year, and hopefully he's got a high floor and a potentially high ceiling. But you just worry about him going to the next level and taking all the big hits. I think it's another step up from getting hit a number of times in college to they getting hit with the big old boys in the NFL. So I think it's a pick they've got to make. It's a toss-up between the two quarterbacks. But yeah, fingers crossed. But yeah, just worry about Kingsbury.
Byron, Jaden Daniels.
Very, very boom bust, I feel, he's going to be in the NFL. I think his ceiling is as high as anybody. He's obviously very, very talented. My worry is kind of looking at him physically. He's about the same height, I think, as Anthony Richardson, who came out last year, but I think he's about 30, 35 pounds lighter. And, we had all those concerns of, can Anthony Richardson stand up to a season? Can Jaden Daniels? Is kind of my concern. He runs a lot. He's very explosive. I think the first thing I'll be doing is getting someone in there, teach him how to slide, teach him how to protect himself. If he can protect himself and he can go 17 games a season, 15 games a season even, I think they've got a real explosive player there. It's just going to be a case of making sure that he's out there as often as he can be, and hopefully he can adapt to the pro game. I think, like I said, the ceiling, I think, is as high as any quarterback in the draft. I'm not sure he's got the highest percentage chance of hitting that ceiling compared to some others.
Yeah, that's fair. I think you look at that Andy Richardson and that last year, and that could make you worry for him. I think there's just got to be they've just got to be smart with him. The Commanders around, he could be at times very quick to rush, and I think that's the nature of the college game. Though at times, that you could just I'm just a better athlete than a lot of these guys. So I think maybe he will calm it down, and I think actually he doesn't run because he's maybe not as fundamentally sound as a thrower or isn't as effective. He's great as a passer, very fundamentally sound. That you don't necessarily see that in the dual threat guys, and that's been a criticism of some in the NFL. Lamar will never hear the end of that. But I think Daniels is set. I've said a couple of moments ago, Williams isn't my number one. This guy is. I'd be taking this guy to build my franchise around. I think he's absolutely incredible. His season last year was ridiculous for LSU. Again, LSU had a similar problem to USC, where just their defense was just terrible. But this guy was unbelievable. I think he's 40 touchdowns, only 4 picks, passer rating over 140. It's plus another 1,000 yards more on the ground. I think just a truly incredible talent, and really excited to see what he can do. I think someone, it's really easy to compare, but I think the RG3 comparisons are there, and I think he could have a real similar impact to what RG3 did in that rookie season. And the Commanders could have a true superstar here, and hopefully they manage him better than they did RG3 with the way that went out, and they're not going to have to give up what they gave up to go get that guy on this occasion. Anything else to add about Jaden Daniels?
No, I mean, he has shot up to be the odds maker's number one choice to be number 2 as well, which it felt like a long time it was kind of cemented in. It was going to be Caleb Williams, Drake May. So I think there's going to be a lot of intrigue until that pick goes in of who they're making, which is always good for, the viewing experience. I think, like I said, Daniel's a higher upside certainly as Drake May. So
yeah,
I think for the ceiling.
And I think it's one of them. The Commanders have now they've got new management. They've actually kept it pretty quiet, and it's not leaked out, or it's been actually a functional franchise. And some of the moves are made because there's been Sam Howell's gone, so does that mean they don't want to have the best friends competing? So is it going to be May? But they've got Trubisky in, so who's similar to Daniels? Well, not really that similar, but he was. So it's a similar kind of offense they can make. So it's. I think it's still up in the air, and we'll play. I don't think we'll find out till draft night.
Yeah, the first real decision, I guess, of draft night. Cheers to Scott. Go give Scott a follow. He's a part of the Let's Talk Sports Network at SJCode1. You can see him all across the LTS network. On to the Patriots. I think this is where it starts getting real interesting. So we've got David from the Patriots Touchback at Pat's Touchback podcast. UK-based New England Patriots podcast. He's going to be picking at number 3 for the Patriots. So let's see who David picks.
Hey guys, it's David here, founder of the Patriots Touchback podcast. You can find us on all social media platforms with Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and X. So with the 3rd overall pick, the New England Patriots select quarterback Drake May from North Carolina. Reason for this pick is because we feel that he's the best quarterback that's currently on the board. If Daniels would have been there at number 3, I think we would have gone number 3 as well, Daniels. But May does have great size. He's the preferred pocket passer, and he could probably work a bit more on his footwork. Don't get me wrong, but that's the coaching ability side of things that I feel we can do. So we need our quarterback for the next 10, 12 years. I think we work from the bottom up. I think Drake May is the perfect fit in this type of Mayo scheme, which I think he's starting to try and develop. He needs to gain reputation, obviously, but I think he does feel that May going forward is going to be his quarterback. Might not necessarily mean that he'll start. He might have to sit behind a year behind Jacoby Brissett, which it's okay. I think he needs to learn the ropes before he can go in and start in the NFL. So, just a big shout out to you guys for what you do. You make the UK side of things much better with you guys involved. So, big up to you guys, and hope we can keep in contact soon. Cheers.
Cool. Thanks to David from the Patriots Touchback podcast at Pat's Touchback. He's taken Drake May for his New England Patriots at number 3. Makes sense, that move. Again, not really a surprise. Or with Marvin Harrison, would you have thought the Patriots might have gone there for the best player available, arguably, on the board?
I think in real life, I think, come the draft day, I think the Patriots might be a trade down candidate, but obviously we're not doing trades in this draft. So I think if we presume there's a world where they can't trade down, I think you have to go quarterback. Jacoby Brissett, I think, is an absolutely fine bridge QB. I think it limits the need to rush Drake May into action week 1, 2. But again, Drake May, I think, to me, I know there's been a lot of hype around another quarterback who we're going to see get drafted, I'm sure, in the coming picks. But I think Williams, Daniels, May have been pretty clear the top 3 quarterbacks in this class for a long time now. I have no issue at all with taking Drake May at number 3. I think it sets you up for future success, even if year 1 is probably going to be a slow year for him, whether he's behind Jacoby Brissett or whether he gets, in halfway through the year. The weapons aren't there, but you've much more chance of taking a wide receiver or passing option in the 2nd or 3rd round this year than you're going to have any chance of getting a franchise quarterback.
Joe, what do you reckon to Drake May?
Yeah, More or less exactly what Byron was saying. I think they're definitely a trade candidate, but if they stay there, they've got to take a quarterback. How many times are you going to be in that position? And with next year's draft apparently not looking too good, you might as well go for it and see if you can get a high quality starter quarterback. It's doesn't always work out, especially when there's all these quarterbacks coming in. So I do worry in terms of, I don't know what it is. It's like certain quarterbacks coming from like colleges like North Carolina, where they've got all the talent, they've got all the attributes, and I've seen that with when 49ers took Trey Lance and Trubisky and a few others, where it's it doesn't always pay off, and they're just not able to learn it because they've got to step up in their ability, but then also they're playing against the best of the best. And with the Patriots team, where I do worry, it's not the greatest, and it's a team what needs a lot of problems fixed. I just worry again a young quarterback. I think they'll do Brissett most of the year, but it's can he take that next step? Can he be, a third overall pick, not just a middling starter where you're always looking for someone else? So I think that's the kind of person you want.
I mean, look, we've had 3 quarterbacks going in the first 3 picks, and I'd suggest that's a very, very highly probable scenario on actual draft night. Not all these guys are going to succeed. One's likely going to be a big bust.
Yeah.
And just the nature of when we've seen quarterbacks taken this high, and especially when you've taken so many close together, at least one of them is going to be a bust and going to flame out, and we're probably not going to hear from him in the next couple of years. I do like Drake May, but I'd suggest he's probably the most likely of the 3 that may happen to. I'm a big fan of him. I'd have him kind of on a level with Caleb Williams in my QB rankings. Personally, I don't think there's too much to separate them. I think he's a bit more of a traditional, old school throwback quarterback. He's more of a pocket presence, and I just think he's going to if he goes to the Patriots, he's going to go to a really bad situation where they don't really have too much talent around him, and that's going to put a lot on him. I suggest, like you mentioned there, sitting him would probably be a real good idea until you kind of get some more weapons around him there. But he's pretty solid 2-year starter in North Carolina. I like the pick. I think if you can next year set him up with some more talent, some more weapons, I think you give the kid a chance. I think maybe you get his feet wet in 2024 late, down the stretch, just to get him a taste, so he's not going in completely fresh, I suppose, in 2020, 2025. But it makes sense. Kind of feel it's a kind of they have to. I think the temptation of Marvin Harrison is an interesting one at 3, because at that point, he's the best for me, the best player in the draft. He's definitely at this point in our draft the best player available, and still is. That's the temptation to maybe ride with Brissett and take Harrison Jr. and then get somebody next year could be interesting. But
so what do you think about when we about like the trade? Like, for example, a team like the Vikings would give them, their 2 firsts, because they're not a team set up to win next year or maybe the year after. They've got a lot of places to go. So do you think they'll be tempted to go? I was just thinking of teams who might do it, and Vikings feel like the most obvious with their 2
because of what
picks.
They've done. Yeah. I think there is.
Okay.
I think maybe the more likely trade up spot might be next at 4 with the Cardinals, possibly, because I think you'd have to. If the Patriots do, it depends on how the Patriots view the quarterbacks. Let's say it's gone this way where it is Williams, Daniels. It just depends how much the Patriots like May. If they don't fancy May, then of course they they want to let somebody else take him. Could that be a Giants? Could that be a Vikings?
Because I think with May, you'll get a better haul than the next pick. If the Patriots go to the quarterback, then I don't think it's going to be as big of a price. So it's it's an opportunity, but they need a quarterback, and that's every year a team needs. The biggest need is a quarterback. So if one's there, they should take it. So I've got no problem with that pick.
I think it's an interesting dynamic as well this year. You just touched then, Paul, on Giants, Vikings, Broncos, Raiders, maybe wanting to move up. But I do think that this collection of 3 teams are all happy to move back as well. The Patriots, then we've got the Cardinals next, then we've got the Chargers next. I think all 3 of those would be happy to move back as well. And it's it's going to be an interesting balancing act of, is there more teams wanting to move up to free than there is teams, like who's more desperate to move up or who's more desperate to move back? I think that could work out really well for a team like Minnesota, who have got the capital. They might not have to go as high as they might need to, because there was talk of, you need to go 11, 23 and a 25 first to get up to free. Whereas if there's not that many teams interested in moving up to free, you maybe can just do it for 11 and 23 and you don't need to give up any future capital. I think it's a really interesting dynamic this year of that number 3 spot especially.
Yeah. I think this spot in particular is where it just starts. Of course, every draft's interesting, but I think the start, just because I think more than other years, I think there is the possibility of a lot of movement, so which could make it interesting. Sadly, we couldn't afford that to our people taking part in this, because we'd never have got finished. So, but yeah, again, thanks to David from Patriots Touchback at Pat's Touchback. Go give them a follow on the socials and go listen to our podcast as well, especially if you're a New England Patriots fan living in the UK. Next up, we've got another drafter who isn't a fan of the team. We struggled also with an Arizona Cardinals fan in the UK. If you are an Arizona Cardinals fan in the UK and listen to our show, make yourself known to us. It'd be great to have a Cardinals contact. But we have got a very good friend of the show, Cy Carroll from the Touchdown, who is a draft expert. That's his area of expertise, college football and the draft. So look out for, Cy's going to plug it anyway, but look out for the Touchdowns draft guide, which will be out now by the time this goes out. I've seen a little preview of it. It's awesome. Get yourself, it's £3, price of a cup of coffee. Go get yourself that and you'll have an excellent guide to the 2024 NFL draft from the guys at the Touchdown. Let's see who Cy, a Chargers fan, picks for the Arizona Cardinals.
Hi guys, Simon here from the Touchdown. Hope you're all enjoying draft season as we approach the big weekend. If you've got any spare time before the big weekend, how about you go over and check out www.thetouchdown.co.uk and check out all our draft content, including the Touchdown's 2024 NFL Draft Guide, which has just been released on Monday. For the price of a pint, £3, you can go and have 370 pages of draft content, including stats, projections, and player rankings and prospect reports, carefully curated and delivered by the Touchdown team. Big thanks to Paul and all the guys at Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover for inviting us onto the People's Draft. And with that, with the 4th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals will be selecting Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver from Ohio State. No big surprise here. Grateful for the teams above us all going a big run on quarterbacks. Obviously, we've got Kyler Murray on the centre. We're not in the market for a quarterback, which allows us to take possibly the best player in this whole draft. Currently on top of the depth chart, I think, for the Cardinals is Greg Dortch. The less said about that, the better. Kyler Murray really needs a wide receiver one to go downfield to. As far as wide receivers go, Marvin Harrison Jr. may be one of the best we've ever seen. He's big, he's fast, he can play on the outside and the inside. His father's Johnny can do it as well. He's a future Hall of Famer. We're very grateful to have Marvin Harrison in the fold. And with that, I'll pass it over to pick number 5.
Thanks to Cy there for the pick for the Arizona Cardinals with the 4th overall pick. Cardinals take Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver from Ohio State, the Ohio State University. Best player in the draft for me. What do we make to Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Smash. Just easy pick, I think. Again, no trade down here. I think I agree. Best player in the draft. Feels like it's been that way since we've been talking about it, really. Come towards the end of the year, it just felt like this was such an easy fit because the 3 teams above all need quarterback. And before Kyler Murray's going to be, licking his lips, rubbing his hands together here, I think just a real prototype number 1 wide receiver coming in. I think he's going to be an immediate impact player. Yeah, best player in the draft, easy pick, I think.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like one of them picks where you can't miss. So if you got him, you're just not going to miss. It's not one of these wide receivers where you're unsure how he's going to come out. It reminds me like how Chase came out a few years ago, where you're like, he's just going to be, top 10 wide receiver straight away. It feels like he's a pro ready. If the Bears are, if they got quite a bit out of Fields and they were thinking about Fields, it could have been an option for him to go number 1. But I think, the Cardinals, if they're not trading down, then it's the most obvious pick for me.
Yeah, I think what's scary is the proposition of Marvin Harris. It's that combination of size, speed, strength. Really, he seems to be really intelligent football player as well. He's got the spectacular plays. He's got the physical play. He makes all the catches, runs all the routes. He's just very, very impressive. As complete a prospect as you might have seen, or maybe in the last however many years, I don't know. Obviously, he's got the bloodline, the lineage for it as well. He's going to be special. I think Kyler's going to have a lot of fun with Marvin Harrison Jr. I think it's going to be a real interesting season. And I think somebody like Marvin Harrison Jr., with the impact that he can have, how he, at times, certainly for Ohio State, just takes over games. I think he can do that early in his NFL career. I don't think he's going to take too much of a transition to do it. I think the Cardinals are in a real good position. No, obviously that division's tough. I think we could see Cardinals go from, one of the worst teams in the NFL with the 4-12, what were they? 4-13. I think they could be a wild card team because I think this kid is that good.
I think the only downside is it's good for the Cardinals. Like, if he's going to be a superstar kind of player, there's like certain teams, and no offense to Cardinal fans out there, but it's I just don't want him to get wasted out there. A bit like how Calvin Johnson was when he was at Lions. It was fun, but he never got to play for a great team and show it on the biggest stage. The Cardinals, again, is another team where they've got plenty of holes and they've got a lot to fix there. Obviously, they had a good first year with the head coach, but they only still won 4. And it's not like their roster's got that much better. So I think it's going to take time. And so I'll be curious if anyone's willing, because we've mentioned about people trading with the Cardinals, maybe for the 4th quarterback, but would anyone be willing to trade up for Marvin Harrison Jr.? And how much would they be willing to give up with how the quality of the wide receivers in this draft? So I think this is a big domino as well, what happens moving forward in the real draft. But right now it's, slam dunk. Scary for my 49ers team, who never feels like they've got great quarterbacks, to, another wide receiver one to contend with.
Yeah, have fun covering Marvin Harrison Jr. The Arizona will hear from Cy again. Obviously, the Arizona Cardinals have got a 2nd pick at 27. So then maybe we'll see more of a trenches piece or something like that for the Cardinals there, with the 2 first-round picks, which is a great spot to be in. So thanks again, Cy. Yeah, go check Cy out at NFL Draft Cy and the Touchdown out at the Touchdown. Go check out their website, all their content, because it's awesome. Moving on, we've got another Touchdown guy who is actually a Chargers fan. So Cy graciously stepped aside to allow Lee Wakefield to step in and draft for his Los Angeles Chargers. So let's see who Lee takes as the first draft pick of the Jim Harbaugh era with the Chargers.
Hey guys, Lee Wakefield here from the Touchdown. Just wanted to check in and give my selection here in the draft for the Chargers. So at number 5, the Chargers are going to select wide receiver Malik Nabers out of LSU. Just need to replace the firepower that they've lost with Mike Williams and Keenan Allen leaving over the past few weeks, and just kind of refresh the wide receiver core here with Johnny Quinton Johnson and Josh Palmer. Hopefully Malik Nabers, a player that could have a higher ceiling than both Williams and Allen, could really boost Justin Herbert over the next few years, and just form a partnership with him just to make the Chargers really special on offense again. So just want to check in with that pick. Also want to point you guys towards the Touchdown Draft Guide, which is coming up. I'm going to be out anytime this week, hopefully. So keep your eyes peeled over at the Touchdown NFL on Twitter for us just to drop that. So we'll see you soon. Take care.
Thanks to Lee there. Go give him a follow at Wakefield90. Again, another member of the Touchdown team. Malik Nabers, wide receiver out of LSU, is the number 5 overall pick to Los Angeles Chargers. I just started doing a Sean Connery impression then. Los Angeles Chargers. What do we make of Nabers? Was this the wide receiver you thought? Because the Chargers obviously have the need, as Lee explained in the video there. They have the need with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams gone. If they were going to take a wide receiver, is this the one you'd expect them to take, given who's on the board?
I think, Nabers is the number 2 wide receiver. I think he's closer to Harrison than Adonzi is to the 2 of them. This is the first one I think we've drafted though where I kind of disagree the most. I think if this isn't a trade back, and again, kind of feel like I'm saying that a lot for these last few picks, but I don't think the Chargers are going wide receiver here. I think they're going tackle. Harbaugh's talked glowingly about how important a good O-line is. Joel is sat there, who I think is OT1 in this draft. I think the Chargers, and I think their actions have proven it I think wide receiver is probably a luxury for them. And I think a tackle and a strong line is a necessity and a fundamental for them. So that's kind of where I disagree. I do not disagree at all if you go on wide receiver, though. I think Neighbors, the ceiling is sky high for him. I think he's so fluid. He's so exciting. I don't think he's as instant as solid as Marvin Harrison Jr., but I think he's probably got as high a ceiling, truthfully. I think it's a real good top 2 and even top 3 wide receivers in this class, which is why we're going to get 3. We're going to hear the third name, I'm sure, pretty soon in the top 10 or top 12, certainly. And yeah, like I say, I wouldn't go wide receiver here. I don't think the Chargers will come draft day. But if you do go wide receiver, I don't think you can go wrong with Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, I understand. I think it's pretty sound. Like from Lee's explanation, like you've lost that. So the need is there for sure. Yeah. But the wide receivers deep in this draft, like it has been for a while, it feels. So you probably can get some difference makers a bit later on round 2. So I'd be shocked if they did. But I do like it. If they went with Malik Neighbors at 5, I do think it's a good move. Hugely benefited from the monster Jaden Daniels season. Last year he was over 1,500 receiving yards, 14 touchdowns for LSU in that beast of an offense that they had. I like him. It's a little bit on the smaller side, I guess, for a wide receiver 1, but. Yeah, I do like him. I think his ability to develop and that where he could end up being could be really, really special. So, I think it would be a sound pick and one that Justin Herbert obviously would love because he's just had two of his guys go out of town. So Joe, for you, would you think that's a sound pick for the Chargers, or again, having lived under Jim Harbaugh's leadership before, would this be a shock to you?
Yeah, I've said it a few times now. Similar to Byron, just I think this is a fan's pick. This is like the excitement. You want a great wide receiver, you want the fun, get the most out of Herbert. But I think they're trying to build a winning team, not next year, in a few years' time. And wide receiver doesn't come on top of that. It's the offensive line is so much harder to pick great talent. And are they going to be where they are next year to be able to stock up on that? Because coming into last year, we all thought, they've got one of the best offensive lines. They're going to be sorted, and it didn't work out that way. So you got to keep getting them in and try and hit on that. I can understand why wide receiver, because they have basically not got anything right now, but. You got to think of the future. I don't think it's next year. I think what they're going to go and leap and bounds is going to be afterwards. And like we said, in the second round, there's plenty of wide receivers out there who got picked in the second round in previous drafts who are now the upper echelons of wide receivers. So I think with it being so deep and again having a high pick, so they could do that in the early second round. But yeah, I would probably go T. But if they do pick. If they do go wide receiver, I think it's a great pick in terms of, he's got speed and speed kills in this league. And I think that's what cornerbacks are usually scared of the most. And, Justin Herbert's already signed his contract. He's going to be there for a while now. So he does need weapons eventually. But, we'll see where it goes. And I do understand what you mean about his small stature. But I feel like the last few years there's been quite a few small wide receivers who've come in. There was the whole thing last year about the wide receivers that they've managed to fit in well. Like, you just look at Puka Nacua, who's not the biggest whatsoever, and it's worked out for the Rams. So it
was quite good, wasn't he, Puka?
Yeah, he had a good first decent season. But so I think it's not as the wide receiver needs to be, big, athletic. It obviously helps. I think you need a mixture. And I think in like how the NFL is now, you need 3 wide receivers. You need a lot more than that, but you need 3 great wide receivers and, different type of wide receivers, and he certainly fits in one of them more. So
And I think speaking to his size, etc., he reminds me so much of a former LSU wide receiver in Odell Beckham. And, you know, it's kind of easy to forget just how insane Odell Beckham was in his first 3 years in the league before injuries kind of beat him up and bad quarterbacks beat him out of the league, I think, a bit. But I think Malik Nabers has that ability to come in and make the same kind of impact OBJ did as a rookie. I think very similar build, very similar fluidity, and 6 foot. Yeah, a few years ago might have been an issue more, but yeah, now I fully agree with Joe. Just speed kills and fluidity more so.
What a link as well. So we're going to move on to pick number 6. You mentioned there OBJ, how good he was in his first 3 years with the New York Giants. And then next up, so we've got representative from Big Blue UK and Ireland at Big Blue UK IRL, the UK and Ireland's only dedicated New York Giants podcast. So let's see who Big Blue UK and Ireland take with the number 6 overall pick.
Hi guys, Craig here from the Big Blue UK and Ireland podcast. For those not familiar with us, we are the UK and Ireland's only Giants-focused podcast. You can catch us once a week, normally on weeknights, on either X, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We run content all through the year, so come and find us. You can find us on all of those at Big Blue UK IRL. Now, in the good teams win, great teams cover draft, we have the 6th pick. And with those 3 quarterbacks off the board, 2 of the 3 wide receivers, there's only really one choice. The Giants haven't had that stud receiver since Odell left, and it's time to make that right. So, with that said, with the 6th pick in this 2024 mock draft from Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover, we are selecting wide receiver Rome Odunze from Washington. Now, 2 of our guys, Kev and Shane, are both massive draft guys. They love to review film, and we do our top 5s, and they both believe that Neighbours and Odunze are your kind of wide receiver 2A, 2B kind of thing. It's all about your flavour, as Kev likes to put it. So we're over the moon with this one. Anyway, thanks guys for including us, and have a great rest of the show.
Thanks to Big Blue UK and Ireland for the pick. They have taken, with the 6th overall pick, the New York Giants will be selecting Rome. Well, I don't know if they will, but in this scenario, we'll be selecting Rome Odunze, wide receiver from Washington. We went 3 quarterbacks. We've now gone 3 wide receivers to top out the first half dozen picks. Joe, what do we make to Rome Odunze out of Washington for the Giants?
Yeah, I think it's a great pick for the Giants. I think they just need a wide receiver. Like we mentioned Odell Beckham, they haven't had a 1,000-yard receiver since then, and it's obviously a big problem, and they need to get that offense going because that's usually what's holding them back. I think they've made some good additions with Brian Burns in the defense, and they're getting better that way, but they just need to improve the offense, and depending on what happens, the previous pick, they might have the pick of the wide receiver, but how the drafts fell right now, I think it's a great pick. I think if he wasn't coming out this year, he would be the number 1 wide receiver in the draft. But he's just coming with 2 other amazing wide receivers. So, yeah, I think it's a great pick. They need to, he's a big-bodied wide receiver. I was just having a quick look at what people said about him. And one of the quotes was, he makes some incredible adjustments on poorly thrown balls, which is great when you've got Daniel Jones as your quarterback. So it'd be a good strength of his. And yes, and they compared him to Larry Fitzgerald coming out of college. And if he's anywhere near that, then the Giants have got a starting wide receiver and finally fix that issue for the next 10 years. So I think it's a great pick.
Yeah, Byron.
Yeah, again, my only query really is, do you try and fix your line? Do you try and replace Daniel Jones with the QB4? Or do you go for an instant impact wide receiver and try and, I think it's going to be a decision year on Daniel Jones anyway, again. And I think Rome Odunze will be a good wide receiver and a good building block for whether it's Daniel Jones in 2025 or a rookie quarterback or a new quarterback regardless in 2025. I can't fault the pick at all. Obviously, the temptation is to go quarterback and hope for the best, but again, what are you putting that quarterback into? Again, number 1 wide receiver of Darius Slayton or, Wan'Dale Robinson or Isaiah Hodgins, none of that is ideal. So yeah, I think Adunze again, like Joe said, I think in a lot of years he'd be the number one wide receiver. To go 6 overall, I think he's a lock to go top 10 overall in the real draft as well. Cannot argue with it. I think, yeah, such a safe pick, such a upside pick as well. Best of both.
Yeah, I think what weirdly, I know it's probably not a thing that things will peak about. I think Roma Odunze will unlock more of Jalen Hyatt in the offense as well, which I think could be real interesting because he's a burner. He could be a really, really good, speed to the deep threat, and I think Odunze would be, I think that's a good kind of, I think possibly a 1-2 combo. But I really like Roma Odunze. Washington had this incredible run to the national championship game last year under Michael Penix at quarterback, and Odunze was just such a great connection with him. He took a huge leap from 22 to 23 in college. I think it was 92 catches for 1,600 yards and 13 touchdowns. He had an unbelievable season, and I think you can move him about as well. He's got that ability that he's not just going to do his damage wide. You can line him up in the slot as well. I think about 20% of his snaps he lined up in the slot last year for Washington in that offense. So yeah, I really like Roma Odunze. And if he ended up in the Giants again, someone I don't particularly as a Cowboys fan want to be facing twice a season.
Yeah, and I think Byron mentioned maybe good for. I think the fourth quarterback could be a bit more of a risk, especially that you signed Daniel Jones on a contract. I feel like you need to give him next year because you've given him the contract now, so he's going to be there next year. So, and he was injured quite a lot of the season, just gone. So it feels like it's now or never. And why not give him a start in a number one wide receiver, which he probably hasn't had at the Giants, and see what he can do, and then move on from there. I agree with the offensive tackle, but it feels like the Giants have done that a couple of times and it's not really worked out. So it's one of them. Do try and get the fans excited. Let's get a number one wide receiver in Cook, and get New York Giants relevant again, because it feels like they haven't been for quite some time.
Yeah, it feels like that one season. Obviously, they had the 2022 they had a playoff win, which is wild. And say they're not relevant. Yeah. There's a very spike just to a relatively poor NFC. So yeah, I think there's a lot there that New York's tough. It's a tough market. There's a lot of demands, even though kind of all New York sports teams suck. Really, it is difficult to get right. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe just trying to get a bit of fan credits with the fans, and this kind of pick might get that excitement going. So yeah, interesting.
Question for you, Paul: if the Chargers go offensive tackle, which we've mentioned, who do you think the Giants would take? Would you think they would stick with Odunze, or do you think they would go Neighbors?
I think they're close, but maybe they would. It's a good question, actually. I'm not sure. I think Odunze maybe fits more the profile that they need, but Neighbors is probably a little bit better. It's a tough one. I'd probably toss up. I think I wouldn't. I don't think I'd be able to make the call. Shying away from a take here on good teams and great teams cover. What's got into me? Must be the off season.
I'll step up. I would definitely take Malik Neighbors in any case. Okay, I'm not palling it up.
No splinters in your backside there, Byron. Cool.
Not today.
Right. Thanks to Big Blue UK and Ireland. So go give them a follow at Big Blue UK and UK IRL on Twitter. Find their podcast for all things Giants. We're moving on to number 7, and we have got the Tennessee Titans. So thanks to Sam, who's going to be making the pick for Tennessee Titans, at Mr. First Down, also a member of the Let's Talk Sports Network. Awesome content available through Let's Talk Sports Network. Sam's a big part of it. Huge Tennessee Titans fan, and I believe he is in Tennessee as well, which is cool. So let's see who Sam takes for the Titans at number 7.
Well, look what dropped to me. Hey everybody, Mr. First Down here of the Let's Talk Sports Show. Catch us anytime on YouTube to watch any of our fantastic shows. I guarantee you we have something for everybody. So, the Titans desperately need offensive line help. And even with the new philosophy coming, with the new coach and the new era beginning, still got to protect the quarterback. We would love to protect Willie Mayo Man Levis any way we can. And that is why Joe Alt is going to be in two-tone blue. Bask in our glory, fellas. See you later.
So with the 7th overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Joe Alt, offensive tackle, Notre Dame. Dame? How do we say it? Notre Dame. Thanks, Sam, for that pick. First of the big boys is off the board. Expected move for the Titans, this one? Does this feel like it makes sense?
1,000%, yes. Worst O-line in the league last year. Now got Bill Callahan in place to room that O-line up, and I think this best O-tackle in the class. Perfect fit, great value. I think at pick 7 as well. No issues with it. I think it's just a real sensible, smart draft pick.
Yeah, I think if Joel's still there, they'll be sprinting up to that podium and getting him in straight away. I think even if he does go beforehand, they'll get the next best defensive tackle. I'll be shocked if it's not an offensive tackle for the Titans and it's just the best available. I think Joe Alt is the number one offensive tackle. I think most places he's number one, and I think there's a lot of things that you mentioned about getting Callahan, but the fact that he'll be 21 for his whole rookie season as well, just how young he will be, you've got the best offensive line coach to mold him into that kind of player, and probably the kind of football they want to play at Tennessee will certainly help. And Will Levis will be a lot happier with an offensive tackle, because I think the defense needs a lot of work, but other than the quarterback, probably offensive tackle is probably the next most important position, and they need to get that right just because it's how poor it's been lately. So top-notch pick.
Yeah, moved on from Taylor Lewan, who's sort of sat with the injuries were racking up. And makes sense. Not only best offensive tackle, probably at this point, best player available as well. Fits the need, and you're taking the best player that's on the board as well. So falls quite nicely for Tennessee. The point you made about him being 21, started as a true freshman at left tackle for Notre Dame. For a program like that, it's crazy. Somebody's going in on the offensive line and start as a true freshman, especially at left tackle. This kid is he's going to be unbelievable. Stick him in now. He's going to be one of the ones we're talking about in 12, 15 years' time. Maybe 15 is a bit stretched, but 10, 12 plus years. Whether he stays with the Titans that whole time on, I don't know. But we were talking about him up with Joe Thomas's, people like that. I think he's going to be that good. Which is a hefty comparison. So I think Joe Alt's going to be pretty incredible. He's a beast as well. He's 6'8". He's a monster. So I think it helps reset that kind of the Titans. Any other considerations of who you thought the Titans could take in this position, or does it just have to be Joe Alt or who they see as the best tackle available?
Yeah, to me, it's really no other consideration, especially if Joe Alt is available. If they have another tackle they would like as well, if Alt is off the board to the Chargers, I think with getting Calvin Ridley on the big money, they've got Chico Kwanzaa, Okonkwo, who tight end is kind of fine. DeAndre Hopkins is getting older, but he's good enough. Treylon Burks, maybe there's something there to put him as like a power slot receiver. They've got 2 okay running backs. The defense is fine enough, I think. You could maybe go cornerback, but I think that'll be a high price, I think, at this stage when there is such a lock and loaded, bookend tackle available. I just think you would just, like Joe says, you just sprint to the podium, I think, if that's available.
Yeah, I think just how bad they've been, and it's, being the worst the last few, because when they're their best, it's when they had the offensive line, cooking, and they were one of the best in the league, and everyone was, this is going to carry on for a few years, but offensive line can quickly change quickly. So I think when you're there at that position, I think the only other position I would say, like you mentioned, the cornerbacks or someone defense, but is there someone that good as better than the offensive tackle? I don't think there is. I don't think there's in past years when there's been certain cornerbacks where it's like he's going to go, top 5. I don't think there is that kind of talent compared to what's out there. So I think it's going to be offensive tackle no matter what. If it's Joe or I think it'll be the second best. I think that'd be the perfect choice.
Cool. Right. Thanks to Sam at Mr. First Down. Remember the Let's Talk Sports Network. Go check him out all across the shows there. Let's move on to number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. We've got the guys from the Atlanta Falcons UK podcast at ATL Falcons UK. Two of those guys also run First Down Sports apparel as well. So shout out to those guys again. A reminder, you can get 10% off their vintage store using code UKGTW. Always got to get the promo in. So let's see who the Atlanta Falcons take at number 8.
Hello everyone, this is Liam from Atlanta Falcons UK with the 8th pick of the 2024 NFL Draft. The Atlanta Falcons select Dallas Turner, Alabama. Roll Tide. It's no secret that we need help on the edge, so we believe he's that guy. I think he's got the engine to work in the NFL, so let's go get him. Everybody, if you want to check us out, we're at ATL Falcons UK. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram. We also do some weekly podcasts throughout the season.
So with the number 8 overall pick, the Atlanta Falcons take Dallas Turner, D-end or edge rusher from Alabama. First defensive player off the board in our draft. First of all, is it a surprise that Dallas Turner is the first defensive player off the board? What do we make of the pick for the Falcons?
To me, this is like same as the Titans and Joe Alt. I think they'll be delighted with how the first 7 picks have gone. They don't need a quarterback. They don't need a pass catcher. Don't need tackle, really. Take the best defensive player. I think the consensus is that Dallas Turner is the best defensive player in the draft. A huge position of need for the Falcons, and I think a lot of their picks are going to be on defense this year. Great way to start for them. I think it's just, again, very solid pick, best defensive player available. So, again, I think they'll be sprinting to the podium.
Yeah, I think obviously with a new head coach being defensive minded as well, I think they'll go defense. Like, it just feels weird that the Falcons picking 8, not going for like a fancy pick like they normally do at wide receiver. And if there's a wide receiver still there, I could see them just going for it because Rondale Moore they're still their 3rd wide receiver. You probably could upgrade in that and see what the Falcons do. But yeah, like you said, I think defense is the biggest need, and then it's just deciding who out of them. I was hoping, because I was thinking about putting a bet on where the top 10 picks would be all on offense, but I think it's the Falcons which is going to ruin that. So yeah, I've seen Dallas Turner being ranked as the best defensive player. Or they could either go cornerback as well. I think they just need help everywhere on that defense. I think some of the safeties, which are actually pretty decent. So yes, pick who you want. And yeah, they haven't had an edge player for years. So yeah, hopefully they hit, and it's much needed if they're going to do anything in the NFC this year.
I like Turner as the pick again, probably for I think he just edges out. Sorry, that was terrible. Edges out Jared Verse as the number 1 edge rusher in the draft. 25 sacks over 3 years at Alabama. Obviously had the benefit of playing across from Will Anderson Jr. the first 2 years, but then exploded and had his best season last year in 2023. A big fan. I think, we've, Falcons have addressed key position quarterback with signing Kirk Cousins. You can start getting the most out of those offensive players. Defense took a step last year, and I think getting somebody in like Turner is going to make it go to that next level. So, like it, makes sense. Get somebody, you have to get after the quarterback, and he's certainly a guy that can do that. I think he's got some improvement to do in terms of from run defense. But you'll
always sacrifice run for pass rushers at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. I think at that point in the draft in top 10. So I think he's got an opportunity to develop his bag of tricks as a pass rusher as well. So all that to come, but another beast coming out of Alabama system.
Yeah, and I agree, but I think it's going to be so defense heavy for the Falcons because I don't think they did take a step, but they also played like one of the weakest schedules and the weakest quarterbacks they had. So obviously, if this year changes, they need to step up. And edge rusher is it's one of the glamour positions to choose. So good pick for the Falcons.
Cool. Excellent. Thanks to the guys at Atlanta Falcons UK at ATL Falcons UK over on your socials. Go check out the podcast if you are an Atlanta Falcons fan. Jesus, these PBRs are hitting. Atlanta Falcons fan or not. go check them out. And also make sure you check out First Down Sports Apparel. Get yourself 10% off. UKGTW is the code. Message them on Vinted with the item that you're interested in, and you'll save yourself a few quid. And yeah, you'll have access to 100 plus new items, which are all probably going to be really, really cool. Byron, where was your gag? Did I miss it?
Oh, just that we're recording on 28 free day.
Yeah.
I didn't want to upset our partners. I thought I'd be more mature than that, but if you're going to throw it in there, then yeah, sure. I don't know if they're doing a 28.3% discount on today only, but I doubt it somehow.
Our partnership's just been cancelled. No,
Yeah.
we love those guys, really. Back to Dockers then. Dockers is going to be picking at number 9 for the Chicago Bears. We've already heard from Dockers, left tackle of the Yorkshire Rams. Let's see who Dockers takes with the number 9 pick for Chicago.
Pick number 9 in the NFL Draft 2024 is by the Chicago Bears, and they select Troy Fantanu, offensive tackle, Washington.
With their second first-round pick, the Chicago Bears take it number 9, Troy Fantanu, offensive tackle, or offensive lineman, really, I guess, is the discussion. But offensive tackle out of Washington, the second Washington player to be taken. Second Washington player to be taken in the top 10 picks after Rome Odunze. Bears took offensive tackle in the first round at a similar position. Did they pick up 9 last year as well?
Yeah,
Darnell Wright. They took last year out of Tennessee. Yeah, that's right. He was plugged in as their right tackle. First question: do you see Troy Fantanu? Oh, I had it, Byron. What? I said it right. Fantanu. Do you see him playing at left tackle, or do you see him playing maybe as a guard? Because I think that's potentially a bit of the discussion around Fantanu.
To me, he was a tackle. And for that, I kind of think this is a bit of a luxury pick for the Bears. I think if this is how the first 8 picks play out in real life, I think the Bears are going to be a trade down candidate, because I think this is a real tough pick to make, because I think they're relatively set at tackle. So it would speak to me that they are planning to kick him inside, but I think he is a natural tackle. So yeah, I think there's a big decision to be made there of, like you say, you've got Darnell Wright at right tackle, you've got Braxton Jones at left tackle, who I think are both pretty set there. Not the best tackle pair in the league, but they're both solid enough, I think. So yeah, maybe it is a kick inside to guard, and you can never have too many good old linemen, I guess. It just feels like, say, a bit of a luxury pick, I think, to make at 9, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think taking somebody who potentially, I think he can play at tackle in the NFL, but I think he's more likely to be a guard, and taking a guard inside the top 10 who isn't screaming out as this could be instantly one of the best guards in the NFL.
Yeah,
seems a bit of a reach. So yeah, it's an interesting path to take with Fantanu.
Yeah, I think they would have loved like Rome Odunze still being there.
Yeah, and I think this is the one where I haven't got a clue what the Bears want at number 9. Really, there isn't a set, I won't be surprised to go defense and just get one of the cornerbacks, and just because, again, with all these wide receivers coming out, you need people to cover them. So, and with Justin Jefferson in your division, and with the Green Bay Packers, their young wide receivers, you need to keep getting better and better at cornerback. So they could go that. But I also, they could trade back, and they could get a decent haul if someone is in love with an offense. One of the teams who needs an offensive tackle. And I think because there's 2 others, I think, who are ranked slightly higher than him. I've seen on some, like Fuanga and Fashanu as well, who are offensive tackles who are out there as well. I think it could be a good spot for a team who wants to get their number 1 or their number 2 offensive lineman to move up for that Bears pick. But yes, I think it's going to be a struggle. Like I said, it looks like either play guard or even center. But I think I would probably go defense if I had the Bears pick there. But like what Byron said, you can't have enough good offensive linemen and swing for someone who has that upside. But number 9, I think is a risk.
Yeah, I think as well. I think he can play left tackle, but to be an elite left tackle in the NFL, I think he's probably a couple of inches short and 15 or 20 pounds too light as well. So, from what we typically see from left tackles in the NFL, so yeah, I think he's going to be a very good offensive lineman. Just probably more like a guard, and it's not a very sexy top 10 pick. And also, I don't think he's good. I don't see him being that level of dominant guard to take in the top 10.
Yeah, and I wonder if if they're training back to 15, let's say, around that, he's probably still going to be available, and they've probably got a second day pick up, or something else, and you've got the player as well, which you wanted. So I think they're I think it's a nice position where they could just go best player on the board, or hey everyone, this pick's available, because I feel like if they trade, it could be a few offensive tackle players go off the board there. So I think there's going to be a few needed teams who's willing to give up, a second, third pick if it's not moving down too much.
I get the thing
is needy.
Yeah. Also, as well, I get the part as well. You just taking a quarterback number 1 overall, get as many people to protect him as you can. So, yeah. I get it from that perspective as well. So thanks, Dockers, for the pick for the Bears and for the 2 picks. We appreciate you. And thank you very much. We're going to move on we're going to round out the top 10. So we've got the New York Jets on the clock. We've got Fraser Campbell joining us. So not Fraser Campbell, former Manchester United, Huddersfield Town, Hull City striker, but Fraser Campbell, New York Jets International Fan of the Year for 2023. So Fraser's going to be making the pick for the New York Jets. You're both really impressed by that, aren't you? I like that. We've got Fraser making the pick for the Jets. So let's see who Fraser takes for the Jets.
Hi guys, Fraser here from Gangrene UK. Gangrene UK is a New York Jets fan page. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and we also have a private page on Facebook group for all our members. I just want to start off by saying a big thank you to everyone at Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover for inviting me to take part in this year's People's Draft. I'm lucky enough to be going to Detroit representing the Jets as their first ever International Fan of the Year, so taking part in this draft is a good way to get the nerves out of the system for making my day 3 pick for the New York Jets. Me and the other admins at Gangrene UK spoke long and hard about who we would pick at number 10 for the New York Jets in this draft. We went back and forth on O-line and wide receiver mainly. But I think for this draft, in the People's Draft, Good Teams Win, Great Teams Cover, the New York Jets are going to select Brock Bowers, tight end from Georgia. The reason we went with Brock Bowers is, well, he's got the hype as a generational talent, so why not take the gamble? Thanks, everyone.
With the 10th overall pick in our what a disaster. Start that again. With the 10th pick in our hands on the clock draft, Fraser selects for the New York Jets Brock Bowers, tight end out of Georgia. Possibly surprising to see and wait 10 picks for a Georgia player to go. The way the last few drafts have ran. Aaron Rodgers gets a new toy. What do we make to Brock Bowers to the New York Jets?
I think from my point of view, if I was a Jets fan, this is probably something I would want. Let's go all in. It feels like they're the team who's the most all in for next year kind of team more than anyone else for quite some time. With an aging quarterback, a head coach who's going to get fired if they don't get made the playoffs, probably same as GM. So why not go for the fun, offensive player who can complement their team? Because you look at their tight ends right now, their number 1 tight end is Conklin. Doesn't really get you that excited. I know Jets fans are wary of getting a tight end because they seem to have bad luck picking tight ends throughout their history, but you can't go off history. You can't keep running away. So I think it's a great pick. I think it's another weapon, Byron Rodgers. He's on the slightly smaller side for a tight end, but he's pass catching and everything else that goes with it. I think it's a great pick. Why not, improve your team that way? Do I think the Jets will do this? I have my slight doubts. I think they might go in a different direction, but this is what I would want the Jets to do. Let's make it more exciting. Again, let's make another New York team exciting. Let's go all in. Let's have a fun offensive team.
I think Rodgers is going to love this pick if that's what happens. I think with Brock Bowers, you can almost line him up anywhere. I think you've got a mix of you can line him up out wide. You can he's not just going to line up as a tight end. You can mix him in everywhere. So I think that's the beauty of him. He's been fantastic for Georgia. They really missed him when he was injured last year. He came back in the towards the back end of the season. I think he came back for the SEC championship game against Alabama that they lost. Clearly wasn't ready and fit, but in his time at Georgia, 3 years at Georgia, he's been fantastic. He only got 700 yards last year, but he also only played 10 games. Above 800 and 900 yards for 2 years before. He's going to be a problem in the NFL.
Yeah, I think like Marvin Harrison Jr., Joe Alt, I think this is just a complete blue chip prospect. I don't think there's really a chance you fail taking Brock Bowers. The only slight issue kind of is like the positional value, but like I think once you get to pick 10, you're on the tackle 3, wide receiver 4, best cornerback maybe, but I mean the Jets do not need to improve that defense. I mean you can always improve it, but like it's not a position of need. I think this is kind of a home run again, slam dunk pick. Just pop him in there. They do need pass catchers. I know Mike Williams is there, but you can't guarantee 10 games out of Mike Williams, sadly. Like Joe says, Tyler Conklin is not a needle mover at tight end. I think this is a smart, really easy pick for the Jets, really.
Yeah, best player available on the board, I think, at this point as well, with what's been taken. So, yeah, I think he's certainly I'd say he's probably my 7th or 8th best player on the board. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. So when I mentioned about like what I think the Jets will do, I've got a feeling they might just still go tackle because I think they've addressed that issue, but they're all 1-year deals and it's for next year. But on the flip side, I think if Salah was a bit more secure, they definitely would have gone tackle and feel like the future. But and same with Joe with the GM as well. Yeah. But are they just going to think, well, we might not be here for the future, so why think about the future? Let's improve next year. Let's do something and maybe get a tackle next year or re-sign players and let's go because God knows what the QB will be doing next year. So, yeah. And I also, besides just because it's so Salah to go defense as well, because like last year, I think he was surprised that he went defense. Who did he go for now?
Will McDonald.
Yeah, Will McDonald. He was one of them like people weren't expecting it, but he's just like, he's just like a Salah kind of defensive edge rusher who you might be able to get some out of him or not. But yeah, let's hope they go tight end if he's still on the board. But yeah, we'll wait and see what the Jets do.
If you can jump over a car, you get drafted in the first round. That's how it works in the NFL. I think probably just with the way it's going so far, if this is how it plays out on draft night, because you have the run on, you have the quarterbacks, the first 3, and then the little run on wide receivers. These teams now are in real good positions, I think, because there's going to be a lot of players who are really high up on their boards that are available. So I think they're going to be a lot of these teams will be real happy with the options that they've got. When they're on the clock. Speaking of which, it's time to put another team on the clock. We move to the Minnesota Vikings, and we've got Dave from the Up Hunts podcast, our friends at Up Hunts, and they've got a couple of Vikings guys on their roster. Dave, one of those guys, is making the pick. So let's see who Dave takes.
Hi, my name's Dave from the Up Hunts, an NFL fan podcast for fans of the NFL in the UK. We're doing some pretty good off-season coverage this year, digging into the draft, the free agency, which has been going on. So if you're interested in building a roster, go and check us out on YouTube and many other podcast networks, really, whichever one you prefer. I don't really mind. Anyway, but yeah, have a look. Over to this draft, which is pretty interesting. Some good picks taken so far, in spite of the 3 quarterbacks are already off the board. If the Vikings can pick up potentially a franchise quarterback at this point in the draft without having to give up anything from next year and still having the number 23 overall pick in this draft, I'm pretty sure most Viking fans will kill me, absolutely kill me, if I didn't take JJ McCarthy, the quarterback of the reigning college champions. That is the Michigan Wolverines. Their coach, Jim Harbaugh, went to the Chargers this offseason and has been saying incredibly positive things about young JJ McCarthy, a quarterback who wasn't really asked to do that much at college level, just running the offense, keeping them on schedule, keeping the running game going. But he did show a little bit of an arm, and at his pro day recently, that arm looks pretty live. So JJ McCarthy with a number 11 overall pick.
With the 11th overall pick, the Minnesota Vikings select quarterback JJ McCarthy from Michigan. Jim Harbaugh's been singing JJ McCarthy's praises. He really wants him to be drafted at 4, so the Chargers get the, in essence, what he says, the first overall pick of the draft. In our scenario, JJ McCarthy goes at number 11 to the Minnesota quarterback needy Minnesota Vikings. Maybe that's a bit harsh. They say Sam Darnold. What do we make of this move? Is this, I mean, do we feel this is a reach? It's the 4th quarterback off the board. 4 quarterbacks going the first 11 picks in our playthrough. What do we make of JJ McCarthy to Minnesota?
I don't think Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has got enough, not a squeaky enough butt to make this pick at 11. I think in reality, if they're taking JJ McCarthy, it's probably going to be earlier than this for a trade-up. Obviously, we don't have that in this scenario. And thankfully for the Vikings, there's no teams who are QB needy between like 4 and 10. So, yeah, I think if it comes to 11 and he's available, again, the Vikings are sprinting to that board. They seem pretty infatuated from all accounts with McCarthy. I think this will be the team and the player fit. Whether it's at 11 or not is to be determined, I guess. McCarthy's been such a huge riser in this draft process, it feels like. It seems like he's gone from a borderline first-round pick in December, maybe, through reports, and he's now a borderline top 4 pick 1 month out from the draft. I do think you're going to get a real professional quarterback. My biggest issue, I'm not the biggest draft scout in the world, obviously, is he just wasn't asked to do a huge amount on Michigan. They won kind of with the handbrakes on a little bit. That definitely doesn't mean he can't do it in the NFL. Just ideally, you want to see your quarterback have more, of a repertoire of what he can do at the college level. But yeah, Jim Harbaugh, I think you have to respect his opinion, and obviously he's going to hype up his own players for their benefit, but it's a lot of hype. So I think there is a lot of truth there. I think people like him. I think he's viewed as a leader, and I think that is kind of what Minnesota need. And yeah, I'm happy to disrespect Sam Darnold. They are hugely QB needy.
This is, I find the talk of McCarthy as I understand he's probably going to go in the first round. Yeah. I think that's just due to the needs. I think my assessment of him would be I think he'd be lucky to go on day 2. I don't see it with JJ McCarthy. I've watched a lot of Michigan games the last couple of years. I don't see it with him. He is and you know what? Maybe there's a role for them. People have been called this word, and maybe it might have been slanderous to some.
The G word.
Game manager.
And you get that with Brock Purdy in the 7th round, right?
Yes. I think I think these guys are around. Look, Michigan have been really, really good the last 3 years. JJ McCarthy's been the quarterback, so he's been put in a situation in Michigan. Kind of don't lose us the game. That his job is to not lose them the game. Yeah. They have a beast of a defense, an unbelievable O-line and running game, and that's how the Michigan Wolverines have won football games the last 3 seasons. I've not seen at any point them JJ McCarthy have to put the team on his back and win a game. I want to say, he's fundamentally sound. Not really, from what I've seen. I want to see that he doesn't take many risks. Actually, he's I think he only threw 4 picks last year. That could have quite easily been 14. He got very, very lucky with a lot of it, and in big moments as well. Sometimes he just seems to lose his head in big game moments, even though he's got a great running game to lean on and a defense that is very impressive. I just don't see it with JJ McCarthy. I could be massively wrong, and probably will be massively wrong. I don't know, because there's a lot of people saying he's very good, and one of them is Jim Harbaugh, but I'm not sure if that's more for his own benefit and not JJ McCarthy's benefit. So, yeah, I just don't see it with this kid. I don't know, and the situation, I think Minnesota would kind of have to change their offense. I don't think you could this JJ McCarthy could go to Minnesota and do 10% of what Kirk Cousins can do. I think that offense will need to change so much. So, yeah, I just don't see it with him. Joe, what do you think? Kind of give us a bit of an even keel on JJ McCarthy. I'm so out on him already.
No, I think if it's the 11th pick, I don't mind it. I think they're still looking for a quarterback, and why not? I think, you've always got to take chances with quarterback, and you got until you hit one, why not keep going for it? I think it's the kind of team which, when you look on the offensive side, they haven't got really massive needs except quarterback. Obviously, they need a lot of work with defense, but they wouldn't have done what they did with the Texans just to draft a defensive player. That's what the 23rd pick, or around that. That's what that pick's for, is to get a defender there. Because I think when you look at the trade with the Texans and you look at value, I think the Texans come out heavily favourites. So you don't do that just to get someone on defense. So I think if it's there, why not go for it? I am similar to you. I do worry when, the comp coming out is Alex Smith. And it's just like, but for 11th pick, you probably would take that around that time. But is he going to be, similar to, and it happens every draft, people get pushed up because how highly people need quarterbacks. You look at, Kenny Pickett. No one really thought he should be a first rounder, but he ended up going there. Mac Jones slid down, but still people were a bit out on him. And he had the first good year, but then he dropped off. And he feels like he's one of the players where he needs the team around him to be great in order to succeed. And obviously, you can win that way. You could say that, sometimes Kirk Cousins is similar, but I think Kirk Cousins has got a bit more of a ceiling and he can win games for you. So I'll be curious. But yeah, if he's there, you take him. But if they trade up and give more away and then take him, I think that's reaching. And with the players you've got, you don't need to do that. It's like, giving up future first round picks and everything. Is he much of a improvement to Sam Darnold? I think that's where you got to judge it on in the future picks. So if he falls, but you just do worry for them. They're just gonna overreach and suddenly we're here 3 or 4 years later and back to the drawing board, and your best players have left because they're not happy. So.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's many, and I will stop having to go at JJ McCarthy. It's not his fault. He seems a nice guy. There are he's won the national championship last, in 2024. Michigan. I'd rather have the guy who won the national championship in 2022 and 2023, even though he's 25. I'd rather have Stetson Bennett than this guy. I'd rather have Max Duggan, who from TCU, who got beat in the national championship game, who might not be with the team. Is he still with the Chargers, maybe? I would rather have those than this guy. I'd rather have Spencer Rattler, who's probably the next quarterback. I'm so set that I just don't think this. I think this is going to be a disaster. Especially if he gets taken somewhere like this, I think it's going to be a disaster. A Mac Jones kind of situation with him.
You have to remember this, Byron. We'll have to clip this when he's entering the Hall of Fame if we're still doing the podcast in 15 years' time.
This is getting TikTok every time JJ McCarthy throws a touchdown.
Yeah.
Every time he makes a completion.
Yeah.
Well, it'll outdo what Stetson Bennett and Max Duggan have done.
Yeah. In the first snap.
Not have to take the second half of the year off due to personal issues.
We'll see. But yeah, anyway, best of luck to JJ McCarthy in the Minnesota Vikings.
And best of luck to Stetson Bennett in his recovery.
Yeah. And somebody sign Max Duggan if he's not on a team.
He's on the Chargers, I think.
He's still on the Chargers because he's awesome. So thanks to Dave at the Up Hunts podcast. Go give those guys a follow. We'll hear from more of the Up Hunts guys anyway because we've got them making picks later on in the draft as well. We're on to number 12. The Denver Broncos are up next. We've got Mark Tong, big Denver Broncos fan. Can came to our attention during the season. He went out to see the Broncos game when they beat the Chiefs in Denver. So that's how we got to know of Mark. So we'll see what he does at 12 with the Broncos pick.
Hey guys, Mark here representing Broncos Europe and proudly picking at number 12 for the Denver Broncos in this fantastic good teams win and great teams cover NFL draft. Obviously, I'm a Denver Broncos fan. If you are like me and follow the mighty Broncos, please consider joining us on Broncos Europe. We are a thriving community of Broncos fans this side of the Atlantic, all covering all over Europe. You know, we've got UK, we've got French, we've got Spanish, we've got Germans. We've got a huge amount of members in our community, and we'd love you to join us. So if you give us a search over on Twitter or X, we are Broncos EUR. And if you want to follow us on Facebook, we have a lovely community on there where we have game day threads as well as on the Discord. So if you just give us a search, you will find us. And please come join us. Obviously, 4 quarterbacks going in the first 11 picks has absolutely killed us. We are a quarterback needy team. We need a quarterback. But we can't do that. Realistically, we would be trading down in this position to pick up some more ammo and maybe pick up the quarterback we need later in the first. But with that, the 12th pick, we are selecting Florida State edge rusher Jared Verse, and hopefully the 6'4" pass rusher can become the next elite member of the Denver Broncos, following in the footsteps of future Hall of Famer Von Miller. Let's go Broncos.
Thanks to Mark there from Broncos Europe. Mark selected for the Denver Broncos with the 12th overall pick in the 2024 draft. Jared Verse, edge rusher, Florida State. Florida State Seminoles had such a good year last year. Some will say they were robbed in appearing in the college football semi-finals. Others will say it was the right decision. Anyway, Jared Verse, the first of the Florida State players to come off the board. Second edge rusher, second defensive player as well. What do we make of Jared Verse to the Denver Broncos?
Yeah, I think it's a fine fit, a good fit. Denver needs so much that I don't really think you can go wrong taking Jared Verse is an explosive D-end, great pass rusher. I don't think you can go wrong having that in place for, his entire rookie contract, really. Cornerback, I think, would be an option as well. I think you'd be really reaching taking quarterback here. I think, like I said, I do have a lot of needs, but yeah, I think just premier position, immediate impact player, I think it's an absolutely fine pick, yeah.
Yeah, I think if this is how the draft goes, I think the Broncos are pretty happy because you've got, some positions you could pick the best cornerback, arguably who they have picked here, the best edge rusher. I think it's people going back and forth who the best one is. I think they'll play good defense just because, like Byron said, I don't think you would gamble on the 5th quarterback at this point. They could go wide receiver, could be an option, but I think just get the best defender. I think they'll definitely be a contender to trade back because they need so much. But why not get the edge rusher and start building that defense again? Because that's when they were the best, it was mainly about. It was that defense was unbelievable with top end talents, and he certainly could be one. Just great position for the Broncos to be in.
Yeah,
in the draft.
Not
in general, but in the draft.
I think Mark's point. Mark mentioned there they'd have probably taken he'd have probably taken JJ McCarthy for the Broncos had they not just gone the pick before to the Vikings. But yeah, I like Jared Verse. They had again just improved year on year at Florida State. Had 11 sack year last year. He's a beast. He's got maybe some things that you wouldn't want in an edge rush, maybe shorter arms, but he makes up for that. He's explosive. It's if he can get going, if he can get settled, I think he's going to be a beast. Not to compare him, but obviously the Broncos benefited from obviously the great years of Von Miller, and I think we could see something similar in terms of impact from Jared Verse. I think he's going to be a really, really good player in the NFL. First Florida State Seminole off the board as well. So we move on to pick number 13, unlucky for some. We've got returning guest Brendan Booth, who is a huge Las Vegas Raiders fan. We got there. Also follows Man United, so we love him. All right, guys, don't have to look like that. Let's hear who Brendan takes for the Las Vegas Raiders at pick number 13.
Hey, everybody in Draftland. This is at Big Boned FFB, aka Biggs, from the Uncovered, the Raiders Unrivaled at the Undroppables. And with the 13th pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders are selecting Toledo cornerback Quinyon Mitchell. Now, the ultimate goal for the Raiders is to get a franchise quarterback, a top 3 guy, a J.J. McCarthy, a Caleb Williams, a Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels having a specific history with head coach Antonio Pierce, having been with him at Arizona State in college and at Long Beach Poly in high school. The fact is, though, that the Raiders need help on the defensive side of the ball. And Quinyon Mitchell fits the absolute profile of a top-tier number 1 cornerback in the NFL. The kid had 2 seasons as a sophomore and a junior with the highest graded coverage stats in the NCAA. The only drawback is he played against lesser competition at Toledo. He played against the likes of Bowling Green, not in the SEC, not in the Big Ten. But he's 6 feet tall. He's 196 pounds, recorded some of the best advanced coverage metrics over a 2-year sample size that Pro Football Focus has ever seen. Forced more incompletions over the past 2 seasons than anybody else in college football. And he had an off coverage role in a cover 3 heavy scheme. He would be perfect in Patrick Graham's defense, and he's an absolute fit at 13 if the Raiders cannot go up and get a quarterback.
With the 13th overall pick, the Raiders select Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback from Toledo. I love this pick, guys. What do we think of Quinyon Mitchell for the Raiders?
Yeah, likewise, agree. I think great pick, cornerback 1 in the class. And I think with the way they've set up that D-line, he's a ball hawk. He's quick as a whip. I think he could be real fun to have with, Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby making quarterbacks get that ball out quickly. I think he's going to love playing in Nathan Oakland in Las Vegas. My only query would be maybe do you go tackle, but I don't really think you can go wrong. I think Antonio Pierce is wanting to build that defense first, and if you're doing that, I think this is a great fit.
Yeah, I agree. I think how the draft's gone, I think the offensive tackle, just because how many of the still top quality are still there, but you've also got the choice of the best cornerback. And the Raiders feel like they need a cornerback every single year. Can't remember the last time they had a decent one. So I think it's a great pick. I think there's a few to choose from. And like you said, it's he's always up there with Rated, but yeah, there's a few of us that could choose. I'm just curious, is it going to be such a Raiders thing to go for QB and go for Penix? And just,
I thought you were going to say Xavier Worthy.
Yeah. And it's just a Raiders thing to do, that they need a quarterback and they just think, we'll just go. He can win it. He can be a top quality one. And then again, we're here in a few years' time.
I dare say nothing would ever really surprise me with the Raiders.
Yeah, that's true. Also wouldn't surprise me if they say Xavier Worthy went here just because he ran the fastest 40 ever.
Al Davis putting the slip in from beyond the grave.
Yeah. But yeah, I like Quinyon Mitchell here. I think, I have him just ahead of Cooper DeJean, who I expect we'll hear his name called very, very soon.
Yeah.
In our draft here. But yeah, Quinyon Mitchell, I think probably the only knock on him, Brendan mentioned it in the video there. He played in the MAC conference at the level of competition he's played at, but I don't know, he's got all the physical tools for kind of a top corner in the NFL. I think Brendan reeled off some stats there. Nobody forced more incompletions over the last 2 years. Plays in a scheme that works for the Raiders, and from what we've seen. So yeah, I think this kid could be something really, 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 really special. And yeah, he's definitely a cornerback one for sure. And just hopefully it works out for the Raiders, because they could be building a really, really mean top defense. Which ultimately, that division going up against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs twice a year is what you're going to need.
Yeah. And Jared Stidham. All them revenge games.
All the revenge games in the AFC West. Absolutely. Thanks, Brendan. Go check out Brendan Booth at Big Boned FFB. He's been a guest of ours a couple of times, so no doubt we'll hear from him again during 2024. Moving on to the New Orleans Saints, pick number 14. So we're going to hear from the guys at the Saints, the City and Me podcast. Go check it out. It's awesome. Covering not all things Saints, but all things are about the city of New Orleans as well. Go give them a follow at Saints City Me. Let's see who they pick at number 14.
Hey, I'm Dan.
And I'm Mike.
And we are from the Saints City and Me, the UK's exclusive New Orleans Saints podcast.
Dan, who do you fancy?
Sydney Sweeney.
I'm talking about the 2024 draft.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's go with. So you're talking about our pick at 14. Let's go with Brock Bowers.
Great pick. Gone to the Jets.
Kidding. What about let's keep it back in Louisiana? LSU, Malik Neighbors, wide receiver.
Louisiana. He's gone to the Chargers.
You are kidding me. All right, let's reinforce the trenches. Joel, offensive tackle.
O-line. That's what we need, mate. Yep. He's gone to the Titans.
You're having a laugh, aren't you? Okay, let's stick with O-line. Let's go with Fashanu.
Who?
Fashanu.
Oh, Fashanu.
John or Justin?
Olu.
Oh, the Penn State tackle. Yes.
That's the one. He's available.
He's available at 14.
We'll have him.
Let's take him. Lock that one in. We will take Fashanu, Olu, Penn State offensive tackle.
We'll have him. Fashanu, Vishnu.
We'll take him. Lock it in. That's the Saints pick in the 2024 draft.
Thanks to Dan and Mike there for an excellent draft pick video. From the Saints, the City and Me podcast, go give them a follow at Saints City Me for great content on all things New Orleans Saints and the city of New Orleans in general that they and the other guys have a great passion for. Tackle, unsurprisingly, for the New Orleans Saints. I think it was safe to say that we were expecting that, given where the Saints are. It's Olu Fashanu, who's been taken at number 14, offensive tackle from Penn State. To be expected. A tackle, again, was it this one, given who's on the board, or were you expecting to see another name from the Saints guys there?
I mean, this is who I expected to go, truthfully. Tackle is a huge need. Fashanu, I think, is probably, in my opinion, the top tackle on the board. Seems like a nice, easy fit, for my opinion. If Sydney Sweeney was available, I would have been interested whether they're going to slot her in the offensive game plan. But I think Fashanu is a good fallback option.
Yeah, I like this pick. Joe, again, for you, Fashanu the right one here for the Saints, given where they're at and the mess that is their offensive line and tackle position in particular?
Yeah, I think this was the most obvious one, to be honest. They had a choice of a couple of players they could have gone for, but definitely with the news with Ryan Ramczyk possibly out for the full 2024 season and Trevor Penning's not really panned out how they wanted to. So I think it's worked out from the, two went beforehand. And one of them options was, are they really the second best? Is it a guard? So realistically, they've got their second best offensive tackle. So I think it's worked out for them perfectly. And it's all about improving that line, getting Derek Carr to not get hit as much and not relying on the backup quarterbacks this year.
Yeah, common sense pick, and I like Fashanu. From got to see a bit of him while at Penn State. I think he's a bit. I think there is some parts of his game that need to be ironed out. He's not as great in the run game, but I think the Saints have got a piece there that they will be able to develop and should turn into a pretty solid NFL tackle. Just a sensible pick.
I think that's the key part. He has to develop it a little, but like those physical tools. I mean, he's a big boy. He moves well. He's a natural left tackle. I think obviously there could be a bit cold feet after Trevor Penning did not work out for them, but like I think you just have to take that risk. You know, it's so important to get your tackle right.
I was going to say, you got to keep swinging. We've seen it drafts where the tackles have gone 1-2 and they haven't turned out to be any decent players. So I think you've just got to, as long as you've got the tools, and hopefully they can progress into the league. But it's the risk you got to take with taking them. And once you've nailed it, then you possibly have a start for 10, 15 years. So it's fairly straightforward pick for the Saints.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, thanks to the Saints City and me guys again. We're moving on. Indianapolis Colts up next. A late substitution for this one, but we've got Anthony from the 1st and 56th podcast, Indianapolis Colts podcast out in America, who's going to be making the pick. So let's see who Anthony takes for the Colts.
What's going on, guys? My name is Anthony Gulick, and I am 1/3 of the 1st and 56th podcast. We cover the Indianapolis Colts, courtesy of the Sideline Sports Network. I'm not going to waste any time here. With the 15th overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, the Indianapolis Colts select Brian Thomas Jr. Chris Ballard's thought process here is he's hoping that Quinion Mitchell falls, the corner out of Toledo, but the Bears take him in this mock, and Brian Thomas Jr. is the pick. This is a guy that most Colts fans and most scouts really think that the Colts love. He's a guy 6'3". He can jump out the gym, led the NCAA in touchdowns. Guy is just a freak athletically, and you can't have enough weapons for AR and, Shane Steichen in his offense. Shane Steichen, has proven to do great things with the limited amount of receivers that he's had. And, adding another receiver to that room is going to be great. Getting coached, under Reggie Wayne as well is going to unlock his potential. Some people might think this might be a little early for Brian Thomas, but not really when you look at his production in college and you look at the coaching staff that you're bringing him to. He's not just a deep threat. Justin Jefferson at LSU was just a slot receiver. He turned out to be not just a slot receiver. So, the Colts are going to select Brian Thomas.
Thanks to Anthony Gulick there from the 1st and 56th podcast all about the Indianapolis Colts. With the 15th overall pick, the Colts take Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver out of LSU, our 4th wide receiver off the board after we had them go in picks 4, 5, and 6 to the Cardinals, Chargers, and Giants. Been a bit of a gap, and then we get our 2nd LSU wide receiver off the board. Yeah, what do we make of Brian Thomas Jr. to the Colts?
I think it's a great team fit. I think it really fills out their wide receiver core nicely. You've got Michael Pittman, who's their wide receiver 1, Josh Downs in the slot, and Brian Thomas is, he's a freaky athlete. Really, he's an all-timer on the RAS, relative athletic score index. I think he's a 9.97, the 10th highest wide receiver they've ever charted, and I think they've been doing it since 1984. I think, he's going to take the top off defense. That offense will be looking spicy with Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor, those wide receivers. I think Shane Steichen's going to have a lot of fun with that. I think that's just a great fit. I don't think, again, we say it a lot, you can't teach speed, and Brian Thomas has got it in buckets.
Yeah, big, tall, fast, vertical threat, as you mentioned. He's going to take the top off defenses. So, it's nice complimentary pick and feel a good spot because I'm not sure he'd have stuck around too much longer anyway if the Colts don't take him in this instance. So, I think for me, one that's real exciting, and again, he blew up. Another one that benefited from Jaden Daniels' monster year, who hadn't topped over 400 yards off 35 receptions in the previous 2 years at LSU, 70 grabs for 1,100 yards, and 17 touchdowns last year. Yeah, good. Definitely a good prospect. Joe, what do you make Brian Thomas Jr.? What can we get, or what do you think the Colts are going to get with him?
Yeah, I think it's a good pick in terms of the need, but I'm not sure if where the Colts are, if they should be picking a wide receiver, just because how good the wide receiver draft is. Is this a spot where it's more, they've got plenty of holes to plug, especially like the defensive backs, and there's only one gone so far, and there's plenty of edges and stuff and players like that, and especially on the defensive side. Is this a tad too early to go wide receivers for the Colts when they need help elsewhere? Would he be top of the draft board of the players remaining? Possibly, but is wide receiver what they really need compared to everywhere else? I think it's a great pick because they need wide receivers, but they also need a lot of help elsewhere. And could you get a wide receiver, round 2, round 3, who could help rather than you're really going to get a number 1 cornerback in the 2nd, 3rd rounds? Because I think you might drop off a bit more quicker than wide receivers. But he's got the potential to be a number 1 wide receiver, like what Byron's explained all his traits. So, it certainly meshed well. I always feel like Pittman's probably a 1A or 1B. I don't think he's the superstar class. I think is there. Could he be? I'm not sure. He hasn't shown that, the wow factor when you think about wide receivers ones, but players can improve, and having someone else helping certainly helps you to get less double teams if someone comes in and can take some of the load off. But I just think where the Colts are, I think they might be better going somewhere else. But can't complain with it either because they do need wide receivers.
Yeah, it's interesting. I like the player again. I think it felt maybe there was more opportunity. I think there's still players that are ranked inside potentially that'll be on a lot of people's top 10 that haven't been drafted yet, and that could have also helped the Colts as well. And that's at corner, D line, edge, where I think actually they might have got a bit more bang for the buck, so to speak, at 15. So. Yeah, and I'm sure we'll see a lot of those players go in the next few picks. But yeah, Brian Thomas Jr., number 15 to the Colts. We're going to have our last pick of this part of the last pick of this episode, as we're going to be splitting this into 2. Because I didn't realize it was going to take quite as long. But we are going to be ending it after pick 16. So that's the Seattle Seahawks. And we've got Omar from the Play Action podcast. We had Tom on from the Play Action podcast in our Super Bowl preview episode. Omar is the other part of that dynamic duo, big Seahawks fan, and he's going to be making the pick for the Seattle Seahawks. So let's see who Omar takes at number 16.
Hello everyone, it's Omar from the Play Action podcast. I'm a massive Seahawks fan, so today I'll be picking the 16th overall pick in the 2024 NFL draft for the Seattle Seahawks. And my pick will be Leate Latu, defensive end, UCLA. I think he's an amazing player. Ted Hendricks Award winner, 21.4% pressure rating quarterbacks in 2023 with 23.5 sacks in the last 2 years of college football, which is the most in college football. He did amazing in his combine, and he's a very mature player, very flexible, can do a lot of things, and I think he'll be a great fit over here at Seattle. Thank you very much, and make sure you listen to the Play Action podcast with me and my good friend Tom, where we talk about all things football, Chiefs, Seahawks. I hope to see you there. Thank you very much. Peace out.
So Omar takes Leate Latu, edge rusher, defensive end from UCLA at number 16. What do we make to Latu to the Seahawks and kind of edge rusher in need for them?
I don't think it is their biggest need. I'll be honest, I was kind of expecting Terry and Arnold to come off the clock here, the cornerback. I think they could have boosted the O-line as well, some of the players that are still available. Even one of the big 2 DTs, I think maybe Johnny Newton or Byron Murphy. I was kind of surprised they went edge here. However, Latu's upside, I think, is real big. You can never have enough good edge rushers. We don't know what Mike McDonald's defensive scheme is going to be in Seattle. It's not Pete Carroll anymore, so that's interesting. I think it's certainly an interesting first pick. I think with Latu's, like I say, upside, I think it's hard to quibble it too much. The positional value is certainly there. Just maybe not the direction I would have went, but yeah, certainly not to criticize it.
Joe, another kind of pass rusher coming your way in the NFC West there with Latu. Thoughts?
Yeah, I understand what Byron's saying. I think I'll be shocked if it's not the defensive line, just because how bad they've been the last few years. The Seahawks, and with a new coach coming in, a defensive coach, it feels like the best teams, especially in the NFC, have a strong defensive front, and you need at least 2 or 3 edge rushers each team. So they still need to improve in that way. If they didn't get Leonard Williams back, they may have had to go on defensive tackle. So I think this gives them room to decide who their favourite player is, rather than overall we have to get a defensive tackle. It's more who do they like best, the edge or the defensive tackle. So I think it's a good pick. He's got upside. Yeah, he's still got improvement to make, especially in the run game, especially with the teams they're going to be playing as well. When you've got how the 49ers run the ball and outside zone, and then you're playing Kyler Murray, and so he's got to improve that way. But I think it's a good pick. He's probably the 3rd best edge rusher on there, and it's always a position need for every team. I don't think there's many teams who are happy and always content with their edge rushers. So I think it's a good pick. I think the board worked out from there. They just get the best available on the defense. So yeah, can't complain.
Yeah, the way it's worked out for Omar and the Seahawks here is that they had a lot of good options there at 16. I really like this pick because he's been the most Latty's been the most productive edge rusher in college in the last 2 seasons. He's 23 sacks across the last 2 years at UCLA. 27. I can't do my maths right. 15 plus 12 is 27. Paul,
you got the pronunciation down. Just the maths is.
Yeah, the maths is terrible. When something, when one part of my game levels up, another part drops off. Yeah. Can't be good at everything.
Only human.
Although I think Latu may be good at everything. Good link there. I think probably a little different to what you see from a lot of edge rushers coming in the draft is a lot of the time you see, especially when they are so productive in college, that they're so productive just due to sheer athleticism, and they don't necessarily have kind of the refined pass rush moves, technique. I just think it's the opposite. I don't think Latu stands out as like a athletic freak. Of course, I mean he is compared to us, but in terms of
you'd hope so.
Yeah, in terms of kind of what we see, it's kind of not run of the mill, but it's not that exceptional freakish athlete. But what he does have is a refined and a tool, a good toolkit of pass rush moves that normally you see somebody have to develop. He wins at the line screen in a variety of different ways, and that I think he can make a real good leap and a real impact early for the Seahawks because of that. He's fine, isn't that, from an athletic perspective, and he'll transition to the NFL. But just that ability where he's actually probably maybe a year ahead of where a lot of other rookie pass rushers may be when they come into the NFL, which I think is quite interesting. So I'm pretty decent against the run as well. So I think that's a real good pick. If the Seahawks managed to get him at 16, I think they've done really, really well. Cool. Any other thoughts on the Seahawks pick before we wrap up part 1 of the fans on the clock draft?
No thoughts on the pick, but it's been a blast this first half. Cheers again to everyone who's helped us out with it.
Yeah, not an easy thing to do. Appreciate people giving up the time and getting the videos done and taking time out to record it. A couple of things to shout out that have been shouted out already during this episode. But by the time this episode airs, the Touchdown NFL Draft Guide will be out. We've just received one. Thank you to the guys at the Touchdown for sending that across. Very much looking forward to getting stuck into that. It might help us a little bit with some more of the analysis in part 2 of this, which was, timely. So thanks very much to the guys there. It was released on the 1st of April. It costs £3. It's a 370-page PDF document. The guys have put so much work into it at the Touchdown. I managed to have a little bit of a scan of it earlier. It is awesome. £3. What can you get for £3? Cup of coffee, a bacon sarnie from Greg's. You don't get a lot for £3 nowadays, but you'll get a very, very comprehensive draft guide. So go get it. Give the guys £3 for their hard work, and you'll receive a fantastic product in return. Other shout outs. There was one bit, of course. Go give us a follow. Good Teams and Great Teams cover over on Spotify. Our own shout out. Go give us a follow. You'll be notified when the new episodes drop. Give us a follow on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok at GTW_GTC. Byron, I'm sure, will do a great job of cutting a load of these clips for TikTok and getting them out, as this format works perfectly for that. So we'll get more of those out and come back for part 2. So part 2 will be out next week, and we'll have picks number 17 to 32. We'll kick off with the guys from the Jacksonville Jaguars, Jags Across the Pond podcast, who will, take pick number 17 and kick us off. So until next time, see you soon, everyone.